Aund. Welcome to our biology class. So today we are going to start a new chapter, that is a chapter number 8, respiration and circulation. First we will see the respiration, what is the respiration and all respiratory system, and after that we will go through by a circulation. First we will see the respiration. Basically students, every organism has their own respiratory system, right? So every organism respires with their respiratory organs, and in every plant and animal has different respiratory organ, and on the basis of that respiratory organ every organism are surviving. That means every organisms require somehow energy, and this energy they carried by the various life processes, and when they collect this energy at that time they store in their body. But as we know, when energy gets stored in our body, at that time it get again converted into various reactions, and at that point, that means at the end point, we get a end product. Same as this, here also, that means in respiration also, energy get carried out by the environment, and after that it gets stored in a organism's body, and further it will get converted into some usable form, because when this energy gets stored in our body at that time it doesn't have any use, that is a usable form. It doesn't have any usable form, so that it get converted into in a such a form that it will get further used. So proper definition of respiration will be: respiration, it is a biochemical process of oxidation of organic compounds in an orderly manner for the liberation of chemical energy in the form of a ATP. That means, I have already explained that when this energy enters in our body, it doesn't have any usable form, so it gets converted into a particular form by the oxidation process, and after that it will form a ATP, and this ATP will be useful in that particular organism's body. Now we will see the human respiratory system. We already know human respiratory system has a main part is the lungs, and these lungs towards connected to various organs, and from the nose it gets started till the diaphragm. This human respiratory system get divided into two parts, that is the upper respiratory system and lower respiratory system. And in upper respiratory system it consists outer parts like nose, nasal cavity, nares, internal nares, nasopharynx and nodes. These all structure are upper respiratory system, and below there is a lower respiratory system, and our body, that means enter in our lungs, and after that it will get transported to body via blood. So these nodes divided into three parts: vestibule, respiratory part, and olfactory or sensory chamber. When we observe our nodes, at that time we got to know that these nodes has some sac-like structure at the outside. That means these both structures which are present in the front of our nose, this is called as a nostrils, and from these nostrils air get entered into the nasal cavity. So what you mean by nasal cavity? When these two nostrils are present, at that time next part of our nose will be a nasal cavity, and you can observe that this nasal cavity are divided into two parts with the help of a somehow bone. That means there is a particular bone like structure get divided into two parts, and this bone, that means this is not a bone, this is a cartilage, and this cartilage has a particular name called as a mesenteroid cartilage, and this cartilage get divided into three regions. Now I have already told that first is the vestibule, second is the respiratory part, and third is the olfactory or a sensory chamber. So first we will see the vestibule. Vestibule means when you observe our nose, at that time there is a two nostrils are present, sac-like structures. I have already told that this called as a nostrils, and this outside part of nostrils is called as a vestibule. So when we observe that at that time in the nostrils, that means in the vestibule, there is a skin is present, and on the skin there is a some hairs are present. So why these hairs are present? Because these hairs has the particular function, that is these particular hairs filtered all the air which is we are carrying by our environment, and after filtering it get trapped the particulars somehow dust and some suspended particle which is came from air, and after the filtering, trapping, suspending all the things, then it get forwarded in the pharynx or forwarded in the respiratory part, that means the second part of a nose. So this respiratory part, it is the second part of nose, that is the middle part of our nose, and it has a main function that it moisturize and warm the inhaled air. And there is a last part is the olfactory or sensory chamber. So what do you mean by olfactory or a sensory chamber? In a previous lecture we have seen that olfactory means sensation, right? So this part has a main function of a detection of a odor or a smell. When we smell a particular thing or a particular perfume, at that time, within a fraction of a second, we got to know that this particular smell is a dark or a light odor. That means on the basis of this olfactory or a sensory chamber, we can detect our smell. Now we will see the pharynx. Exactly below the nose there is a pharynx is present, and this pharynx also get divided into three parts. So first is the nasopharynx, second is the oropharynx, and third is the laryngopharynx. So outer part of a pharynx is called as a nasopharynx, and the middle part, that means this nasopharynx, get connected to the oropharynx. That means the second part of a pharynx is called as a oropharynx. And this oropharynx, it is the common passage for the air as well as food. That means from the oropharynx, food can also pass as well as air also pass. And after the oropharynx, there will be a laryngopharynx. But in between the nasopharynx and the oropharynx, that means first two parts of a pharynx, there will be a particular bone is present, and this bone is called as a palate bone. And we already know tonsils. In a previous lecture, we have seen the tonsils which is present at the pharynx. Just now we have seen the laryngopharynx. So this laryngopharynx get connected to the larynx by the particular bone called as a hyoid bone. Basically, larynx is called as a voice box. That means our breathing sound, or our tongue sound, our teeth sound, our lips sound, all these sounds are created by the larynx. So it is called as a voice box. How it is produces sounds? Because of the vocal cords. In the larynx, there is a vocal cords are present, and because of these vocal cords, sound are produced. I have already told that there is a hyoid bone, and this bone again get connected to the trachea. But first we will see the exactly how larynx works. Basically, in a larynx, there is a vocal cords. I have already told that. So these vocal cords are elastic in a nature. So it can easily get folded, and it has a pair of vocal cords. And how this voice is created? This voice get created by the space between air and the vocal cords. And in between this air and vocal cords, our teeth, our tongue, our lips, nasal cavity will get modulated. At that time, this sound is created. And this larynx get And this epiglottis has a main function that it prevents the entry of a food in a trachea. We already know trachea is a part of a respiratory system. So there is no need of a food. There is only need of a air. So that's why this epiglottis get prevented the entry of a food. Now we will see the trachea. Basically, trachea has a pipe-like structure and it has a long length like 10 to 12 centimeter. And this trachea has a C-shaped structure, and this C-shaped structure has a 16 to 20 ring-like cartilage are present, and this cartilage helpful in a prevention of a collapse of a trachea. That means when these 16 to 20 rings are present, at that time these rings didn't connect or attach each other, and this prevention done by a cartilage. And in the trachea there is a pseudostratified epithelium as well as there is a mucous glands are present, and these mucous glands and pseudostratified epithelium do their work, that is they trap the unwanted particles, that means suspended particles which will be harmful to our body. These type of particles they get prevented and they prevent the entry into the lungs. This trachea is divided into two parts, that is a right part and a left part. And this divided right and left part called as a bronchi, and this bronchi is present in the thoracic cavity, in the middle of the thoracic cavity, and this bronchi is attached to the C-shaped rings. In a trachea we have seen that there is a C-shaped structure, and this C-shaped structure supported to the bronchi. And again this bronchi also divided into secondary, tertiary parts, and again these bronchi get connected to the other bronchi, and it is still divided alveoli part. So next will be a lungs. We already know lungs are the main respiratory organ of our human respiratory system. So we already know in our body there are two lungs, right lung and left lung. So these lungs are present in the thoracic cavity, and these lungs will be spongy and elastic, and each lung is protected by a double layer or double layer membrane. Outer layer will be a parietal and inner layer will be a visceral. And between these two layers there will be a fluid will be present. This will be a lubricating fluid called as a pleural fluid. Basically, right lung will be larger and it is divided into 3 lobes, but the left lung will be smaller and divided into 2 lobes. But every lobes of a lungs has a bunch of air sacs which is present at the end of every bronchi. And this air sac will be has a 10 to 12 alveoli. So, what is the alveoli? Basically, this alveoli has a circular lobule-like structure, and it is a present in a bunch. That means we have seen a grapes. We have always seen a grapes. It is always present in a bunch. Like that bunch, this alveoli also present in a lungs. That is the ending point of a lobes. And this alveoli is always surrounded by a capillaries, and these capillaries of pulmonary arteries and veins, so that this alveoli is a highly or a very much elasticity, so that this alveoli has a elasticity, and these are made up of a connective tissue. That's why it has a elasticity nature. In the lungs, there are alveoli present, we already know, but it is about 700 millions alveoli are present in the lungs, and alveoli only do one function, that is, it provides the surface area only for exchanging of gases. And with the help of this alveoli, gases get exchanged. That means carbon dioxide and oxygen get exchanged. And next will be a diaphragm. It is a muscular structure and it divides the thoracic and abdominal cavity, and that's why it contracts and relax, and after the contraction it gets flattened and again it gets relaxed. Basically, diaphragm has a dome-like structure. So today we have seen the definition of respiration, and after that human respiratory system. In a human respiratory system there are nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, lungs, alveoli and diaphragm. These parts are present, and we have seen the structure and function of these parts. In a next lecture we will see the mechanism of a respiration, how exactly respiration takes place in our body. This we will see in a next lecture. Thank you.